Hey guys, welcome back to The Composed Artist. I'm your host, Stephanie Gaffney. Today, I am welcoming my dear friend, Heather Wolfe. She is an artist and a live wedding painter out of Knoxville, Tennessee. She has an incredible story that I am honored to have her share with us here on the podcast today. We had a really wonderful conversation. We've known each other for years, and we finally met in person at the Layover event in Charleston in January this year, 2025. But we have had many, many long conversations. Just a really dear friend of mine, wonderful person. And she has chosen this platform, this podcast, My Eyes and Ears, Your Eyes and Ears, to share a very personal and important part of her story for the very first time. So I'm honored. I'm honored to share this story with you. We chatted for a minute, so we're actually going to break this episode into two parts. So this is going to be part one of this episode with Heather Wolfe. I want you to know that this story was hard for her to share, and so please be mindful of that in the future. Okay, so without further ado, please welcome my friend Heather Wolfe. Welcome to The Composed Artist, the podcast where we explore the intersection of artistry, entrepreneurship, and self-improvement and continue to pursue a more composed life. I'm your host, Stephanie, an artist specializing in live wedding painting, living in the vibrant and soulful city of New Orleans. Over the past decade, my job has taken me all over the world, meeting and creating art in front of thousands of people, and has allowed me to create a colorful life for myself and my family. Now, I help other artists build confidence, develop their techniques, and fall in love with the art of live wedding painting. I invite you to join us for inspiring stories of creative journeys, practical tips for running a successful art business, and honest conversations about the joys and challenges of running a studio and being a parent. This podcast is here to keep you company, keep you entertained, and is full of resources to help you on your journey to create a business that feeds your soul, makes an impact, and is insanely profitable. The Composed Artist is the podcast for the bold, creative, passionate, and genuine artist. Let's get started. Oh, yes. Let's start from the very beginning. Hi, Heather.
Well, hello.
How are you? Thank you so much for coming hang out with me today.
I am beyond excited to be here. And this is something I've really looked forward to. So thank you very much.
Of course. Oh my gosh. I know. We've met each other once in person at Layover earlier this year.
So busy. And we
didn't even get to sit down and chat. And we've known each other for like a decade online, which is it's insane. I feel like we're old friends.
I know.
So
I know.
You're so cool. Thank you. Thanks for coming hang out.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here.
Tell everybody, introduce yourself and tell everybody how you became a live wedding painter and the creator of FASTONE and how you've gotten to where you are in your career.
Sure. Well, I'm Heather Wolfe, and my married last name is Stanley, but I kept my maiden name because it's pretty awesome. So I go by Heather Wolfe Art, and I am a live wedding painter. This is my 7th year, and I am in the East Tennessee area. I started FASTONE just about a year and a half ago. So this is a new added element to this crazy journey that I'm on.
Mm-hmm. It's a product. Like this is something that as an entrepreneur, which you are, because you were a teacher too. And I can't wait to hear how that kind of weaves into what you've done in your career. But I mean, I am always like inspired by all these ideas. And there's always like this product or this, like I made an online course. So I went that route. But like FASTONE is a product that you came up with. You saw a need in the industry and you're like, I got you covered. I'm going to make it and then make it available for anyone and everyone. So tell us what FASTONE is.
Okay, so FASTONE is it's 6 different shades that you can use as a base to make a portrait. And I do intend for you to mix them together, but even add other colors to warm them up and cool them down, neutralize them out. But it is a base because there's so many times that we are live at weddings, and the environment is changing. The lighting is changing. It's becoming darker because it's a reception space,
Mm-hmm.
and the DJ puts up his up lighting or her lighting, and it is a constantly changing environment. And I found myself like, I know color theory so well, but even I was struggling with it. And I was like, there
Mm-hmm.
are so many things affecting my palette, my eyes,
Mm-hmm.
that I could do something to kind of make this a little easier. So I started tubing it for myself, never thinking it would be something that I would sell, never thinking I would go into production mode of this. But it is just shades going light to dark. And hopefully it's just speeding up that process and giving a consistency to a painter's palette and
Mm-hmm.
making it a little easier to paint live is my goal.
Yeah, and apparently it has, because you sell these on Amazon and you've got tons of reviews. I know I can't count how many people in the industry use them and love them and rave about
It's
them. So it's a paint, it's a collection of 6 paint colors. It's acrylic, right? It's like high
it's a heavy
quality. Yeah.
it's a heavy body professional grade. It's actually the highest
Mhm.
level grade of paint you can get for acrylic.
Mhm.
And then I have just mixed these together to create 6 shades. They have great light fast, super high pigmentation. They're very buttery smooth. They blend really well, but they are an acrylic, so they dry fast.
Mhm.
I have toyed with the idea of adding additives to them to slow them down, but maybe that's like a FASTONE 2.0. One day I may have
Yeah.
like different versions of it, but today, right now, it is just a traditional heavy body acrylic paint.
But that's perfect, because that's your base. I mean, you need having some sort of middle range, kind of warm tone, because we have the entire spectrum of ethnicities, skin tones, things like
Yeah,
that. And
yeah.
but having like that warm base with like lighter and cooler, darker ranges as well, people can start with that and then mix
Right.
temperature wise. They can mix in their preferred mediums, because if you added a medium,
Yes.
then you're adding it to what you would feel would be slow drying or fast drying enough, whereas we all use different mediums and we all have different preferences for layering and drying time. So that, I think, is wise. I think what you've created is wise.
You
How
know,
did you get this idea? Like, what, go to the beginning.
okay, so my degree is art education. I knew from a young age that I wanted to be an artist. This was like in my DNA. Honestly, my mom and my dad are both artists. All of my sisters are artists. Like, I didn't have much choice. I can't talk like sports and all that kind of stuff. I really am gonna drop the ball when you ask me anything about other than art. Like, academics, don't ask me to spell. Sports, don't ask me to do anything like that. But art, we get together, and it has just been like this love I've had my whole life, and has been instilled in me. So I went into art education, and I thought it was going to be different mediums over the years, but I ended up sticking with painting.
Mhm.
I taught for 5 years, and then I decided that was a moment in life that I wanted to pivot and change, because I found myself really passionate about teaching, but the students that I had, and I was high school,
Mhm.
they didn't have the same passions as me, and it's a required course, like to have a fine art to graduate high school. So he just had some behavioral issues, and I didn't want to be an administrator, and
Yeah.
that was tough for a 21-year-old Heather to be put into a classroom with kids taller than me, and then say, "Hey, listen up to what I have to say, because apparently I'm an authority over you now." So that was
Mhm.
really that was tough, but I did that for 5 years, and then life took a turn and it took a switch.
Ooh. Okay,
Okay.
live wedding painters. Have you taken a minute to evaluate your business yet? Have you started to think about next year yet? As this year comes to a close, it's important for each of us to take a moment and reflect. Did you hit the goals you set for yourself? Did you set goals at the beginning of the year at all? Was there any clarity in your vision for your creative business? Or have you just been hanging on for the ride? Now, imagine starting next year with a clear plan, a year where you're building a stellar portfolio and booking dream weddings, showing up with confidence and taking bold steps toward your career goals. That's exactly what my goal setting workbook is here to help you achieve. Created for the members of my online course, The Wedding Painter's Blueprint, the goal setting workbook is more than just a place to jot down ideas. It is your roadmap to success for the year ahead. With guided evaluations, you'll identify your unique personal and professional challenges. You'll address physical and psychological elements that might be holding you back, and you will set clear, achievable goals and map out the steps to reach them so you can turn your vision into reality. This workbook is free to download and print so you can physically write down your goals. It includes tools to help you track your growth and adjust as needed, and will actually help you take vague dreams and turn them into concrete plans, and turn those plans into real success. Next year doesn't have to feel uncertain. The goal setting workbook will help you take charge of your career and step into the new year with purpose and direction. Click the link in the show notes to download your free version of my goal setting workbook and kick 2025 off with clarity. Okay, so when life took a turn, did you switch careers? Did you do something with your art, or was this like a personal, something happened in your life? What happened?
So it was Christmas, and this would have been like 2011, and I saw something at Home Goods or TJ Maxx, just one of those stores that they have like art mass produced. And I saw a pet portrait, and it was mixed media, but it was done in a way that I thought, ooh, that's inspiring. I'm going to take it to that next level. So then I started my first collage, and it was a gift for somebody's Christmas, 2011. And I decided to start doing these portraits. And as everybody who saw it, they were like, this is interesting. You should pursue it. So it was in the back of my mind, you know, that last semester that I was teaching of like, okay, what if I chose to do being a full-time artist rather than being a school teacher? So at the time, I was engaged, and I was about to get married. And I thought, hey, this is an exciting thing. And I decided to follow his path of his career. Like he was going to be working a job that was going to be remote. And I was like, hey, an artist can go on the road. And I said, okay, I will do these pet portraits. And I had done a couple more, but I was like, I'll do these collage pet portraits on the road, and I'll just follow you. Newlyweds. It'll be so fun. So then the next part of my story, it does turn, and it is a difficult one. And this is actually my first time sharing it. 13 years ago, so this is 2012, and it was actually 13 years ago this weekend. So this is a hard one to share. And I've said my whole life, like, maybe one day I will share this publicly. And I've been on podcasts before and had the opportunity, but I wasn't ready. And I think with my career, especially since there's such a social media presence to it, I'm just a positive person, and it's easy to show the happy side. And to like show the difficult stuff, it's like, I don't know who is a good listener. I don't know who I want to share that vulnerability with. And, you know, we were talking a few months ago, and I shared it with you, and it was just this, wait a minute, what if I ever shared this publicly? I actually feel like I trust you with this. And you did it in such a way that people have had a hard time being a listener. And so it was, I don't know, you just like made it like a really safe place to share. And there's been a lot of like, am I ready to share this? If I am, when and how? And so I'm choosing today to be the day. And I don't know why I've chosen the weekend of the anniversary, because at this point of the year, things get simple. And I create a space that's simple. Okay, there's this suspense. And I'm sorry, because I don't want to be dramatic. I am not dramatic at all about this. This is something I'm actually very like careful with. But okay, so I have been married before, and this was that first marriage. We had just gotten married, and like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, like we were just getting married, and then he got his next assignment to be to follow his business to Colorado, to Denver, Colorado. And so we were popping around different cities, very mobile. And we were in Denver just, I don't know, maybe 2 months after being married. At that point, we were stationed there. And we actually went to the movie theater that was the Batman movie that had the mass shooting. And so we were there, we experienced it, we were survivors. It is not something that is easy to remember. It is not something that I am going to say a lot of details about, just because it's a bad memory and something that I'm very careful with how I talk about it. But the trauma that came after that was very intense. And okay, so I lived through that. It was awful. But what happened to this happy-go-lucky Heather that was very artistic and just not afraid of people was like a total switch. It was like a recluse that I've never related to that before. Being like quiet or not wanting to be outgoing. But what happened after that was I didn't want to go to big crowds. I didn't want to be at shopping centers or grocery stores, or definitely not ever back at a movie theater again. Like, it was, I want to stay home. I want to be in my own environment with people that I love and trust, that can help me feel safe. And, the really terrible thing was, I've always been a strong believer. I've always been like church my entire life, but somehow church became one of those places that were like, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe at all in this environment. And so I stopped going. And it took me a while to realize that there's a lot of things when you go through a trauma that surprise you or that don't make sense. And so there's a lot of confusion to it. So this idea of why in the world does it bother me when I go to church, and why, okay, I'm sitting in pews, I'm in a chair looking forward at a sermon like a screen. All of a sudden I'm like, that's like a theater.
Yeah.
And then, if somebody's coming in or out, that was like the theater. So it takes you a while to recognize these things. When you've gone through something really big like this, it took me a while to be like, well, that confusion just had some clarity and that makes sense. So now what am I going to do with it? So I stopped going. And, I would listen to online sermons, and that was a way of like getting to still have church, but not a building. And I don't believe that God only shows up in a church room, in a sanctuary. He could be right here, right now, and totally present with him. So I did miss that community. Now, so one of those sermons I was listening to was about idols. And I mean, you've heard idols all through your life of like, don't drink, don't be promiscuous, don't be obsessed with gambling or money or, all these things.
Yeah.
But
Deadly sins. Yeah.
Yeah. And I went through this checklist that the pastor was talking about, and it was like, what's consuming your thoughts? What do you think about more than anything throughout the day? And I'm like, fear, 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 fear. And as I was sitting there, I was like, oh my gosh, my idol is fear. And like, I thought idols were supposed to be like the cool things. It's like, that makes you like edgy and like, but you're having fun though with those drinks and, that
Sure.
life. Like, but it wasn't. I didn't even like my idol. And what I realized is that I had a checklist in my head of like, hey, Heather, do you want to go out and go do something? And it would be like, well, is this good with crowds? No. Okay, I'm not going to go. Or is there going to be strangers? No, then I don't want to go. Or is there going to be loud noises here? Like concerts? No, I don't think that's something I would feel safe with. So it became like a checkpoint in my life of, is this good? Is this bad? And it was like this false sense of control that I had of like, if I can control everything in my life and what I was doing and going out and participating in, well, then I must be in control. So it was false. It wasn't real, because I could still go and do something and something could happen because I thought I was good, and, something could still happen. But all that to say is that I was just starting to learn the complications of of trauma and how it affected me. So at this whole time, in
How
this
long was
period,
that? Yeah,
I
how
was
long was
going to
that period of
say
time?
it was 2 years before I ever could even start a job. And
Mm.
the first job that I really did was just very part-time, like sips and strokes, painting with a twist kind of thing. Like it was,
Mhm.
that was what I did. And I would go and I would paint and then I'd be done. And it was just a couple hours a week, a couple hours a month that I was doing. Because that whole idea of like promising myself to like say, hey, I can work a job and I'll show up, I'll be on time, and I will be healthy in the mind and body. I couldn't promise anyone. It
Mm.
was, everything was affected. And it was 4 years before I really started to feel a shift and a change. That's a long time to be processing trauma.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah, it
long
is.
time. Okay, so there was um there was this another sermon that I was listening to by Andy Stanley, and I don't really listen to a whole lot of his stuff, but there was this sermon about in the meantime. And guys, like it's out there, you can still listen to it. I still send this out to anybody that ever seems to be needing this, and it's not like, do you have got to have lived through a mass shooting in order to listen to this Andy Stanley? No, 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 no. It's anything, because this is what I say. Trauma is trauma, big T trauma or even little t trauma. Trauma
Mhm.
is trauma. If there's something in your life that you have, I know the day and the time, I know how many years and months it's been since it happened. Like if you have an internal clock in your head, like how old are your children? You know that number like that. When did you get married? You know that number like that. If it's a moment in life that was big, that's significant. So in those mean times can be anything to anyone. And so Andy's talking about suffering through the meantime, in the meantime, when it's something that you cannot change, it's not going to end like just a couple more weeks and then you'll be done. Or
Yeah.
um, it's those things that are sticky and they don't have like a definitive like season to it. It's just like, this may be your new normal. And I was just like, this is my new normal. This is speaking to the long-term suffering that I am
Mm.
definitely in. So Andy's talking about suffering and how to suffer well. Just that phrase alone, how to suffer well,
Mhm.
was like, you've got my ears. For the first time, I was like, I almost want to do a shift and a change. I mean, it's like 3 years at that point, and I'm like, I'm ready to hear what you have to say about suffering well and try to do it a little bit different, because I don't think I'm suffering well. I think I'm just like, whatever happens is just the way it happens. You just got to deal with it. Like, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of a mess, and that's just the way it is. So there was this season of taking these pieces and saying, okay, this is what life is like right now. And how can I take that and learn control or learn tools to have like tools in my tool belt for success? All of this is going on. I am in deep counseling. I started counseling within like 2 weeks of the trauma.
Mm.
And sometimes my counseling was, I'm not kidding. Like those first 2 years, it was like my full-time job was counseling. It was sometimes 3 days a week. And sometimes each session was 3 hours each day. So it could be anywhere from like 2-3 hours of counseling a week to like 9 hours of counseling. And
Wow.
it was so extensive, but I was desperate. I was
You were in
absolutely just,
survival mode,
yeah.
especially I cannot imagine.
I don't, and when people say this, it's like, I don't expect anyone to be able to imagine,
Mhm.
because what happened was not good. That is not of God. And I, like, that's not what our brains were geared to process.
Mhm.
So I didn't know how to deal with any of it. And with that said, I have learned grace for people who listen and
Mm.
people who are my audience of like hearing me tell this, of like, hey, I don't actually have an expectation of how you hear this, or I don't actually have a whole, like, I have a lot of grace for you and how you hear this and how you question like what comes next or like all that. But there's a bit of like edifying that I can do for people in my life of like, okay, this is something, it's really hard when I'm asked about. And when you do ask me, here's some ways that are really helpful. Like, check the environment. Are we around a crowd? Are we in a loud place? Or, there's things like that. Or ask permission. Like, hey, Heather, is it okay if I ask you a question of something like this? Giving myself like, yeah, I'm okay with that right now. Like, so like I
Yeah.
gave some edifying to people over the years, but honestly, gosh, I don't expect anybody to know how to ever respond to something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And those who have done well are those who have suffered in their past. Because it's like, okay, I actually know what it means to be in that mean time or those really difficult moments. And it's just those types of people have been just a breath of fresh air to talk to.
Yeah.
And I have like my little pocket of people that are like my husband. Like I said, I've been married twice. So my husband now, he is that for me. Like he's able to talk to me about these things in ways that most people can't. And that is, I think that is a gift that God gave me. Is like, you went through something really hard, and I'm going to give you people in your life that are going to be awesome support, a great counselor, a listening ear, somebody that's giving you biblical wisdom. And so it's just been these very important people throughout my last 13 years of helping me process this. But it was, so going through that, I learned that control, like false sense of control or a real sense of control, and order, things being like tidy and neat, really were some of the biggest things that I like grasped to, like white knuckle gripped, like I have to feel safe here.
Mm-hmm.
So to like zoom out a little bit and to more to the current day, okay, let's just talk about fast tones is like one of those things, because it's like, okay, it's a stressful environment. It is your adrenaline is going and everything in your body is like the
when
music.
You're painting at a wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I can relate.
Yeah. So it's like those kinds of things I started to put into I call it my tool belt, emotional tool belt, physical tool belt. What is it? A physical thing like fast tones? So I started to put these things together in my tool belt of like, what could I do to make this not feel so icky? And so that is one of the things that I've learned, is that having control and order has been like a huge theme to feeling like I can successfully do tasks throughout my life.
Mm-hmm. I completely understand that.
Yeah.
So you were a teacher for 5 years. This event happened, and then 4 years later, you started to, I guess, regain control a little bit. There was the sermon, which I'm gonna ask you to give me a link so that we can link it in the show notes so people can listen to it, because it sounds phenomenal. What happened next? What was the next? Were you still painting? Were you trying to paint at all? You were looking for jobs? What kind of, over those next few years, how did you transition from, I guess, I don't want to say recovering, because this is something you'll live with forever, but move past that fear, regain control over your life, and then become an incredibly talented and well-known wedding photographer. I mean, wedding photographer. What is this?
I'll take your picture.
Live
I do take
wedding
pictures.
painter. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like, and then to be the absolute joyful source of light in my life and in the community, like nobody could tell by the joy that you exude, especially online, like what you put forth for the public.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed it, girl, that you went through
Yeah.
something like that. But yeah, what happened next?
Okay, so it's like 2015, and it was just that was a really long 2012 to 2015 was a really long just season of suffering. I'm still producing. I'm doing little dog shows of like taking my pet portraits, and I'm still doing that on the side.
Mm-hmm.
But be very, very clear, it was a couple dozen a year at the most of portraits that I was doing. And at one point, Stephanie, I charged $119.20. I don't know why that number.
Random number.
Okay, well, it has a backstory, but there was a season where I was like, oh, I'm going to do a coupon. And that coupon came to a off whole number. So it was like $119.20. You could get an 18 by 18 collage of pet. And I was anyway. So there was that season. Okay. And then I was like, these jobs, even at $119, I'm still selling them so slow, so slow that I thought, I think I'm ready to stop. And I think I'm ready to switch gears, maybe even away from art. And okay, I'm at a restaurant. Okay. I just have to say this. My life story has an A to Z. And today I'm picking up B, Q, Y, Z. It is going to be snapshots. So there's a whole lot more in between, but so we'll just kind of go to this one little spot. But there was a moment I went to dinner and I met someone who was affiliated with the Westminster, and they did the Purina side. That's the main sponsor. And they were like, hey, your work is really unique. What if you did the Westminster Dog Show that's in New York? And I'm like, my checklist. No, sorry. No, thank you. That's a big city. That's a crowd I can't contain, or like, I can't, no, I can't handle that. So then I'm like, already a no, but then I'm like, but wait, what if I do? So I entertained the idea and I looked up what it meant to get in, and I did all the things you needed to do to submit. So I submitted my small portfolio. I mean, it was a small portfolio that I worked hard to build a few for that very submission. And I got in. It was a juried exhibition. Like it was a juried show to get into this Westminster Dog Show. This is, if you're not familiar with the dog world, which I wasn't, and I had to become it, but there was only, I think there were only 19 or 20 of us that were accepted. So the Westminster is the largest United States dog show. It is a jury thing. Like you have done small regional, you've done local and then regional, and then you move up to the national. It's tiers to get there. And so I couldn't believe that the top of the top said yes to my artwork. And so this is like, I guess this is maybe like November, December, and then the show is February. So I have like this very small window of like getting ready and putting all my artwork together to have like a legit booth, not just my homemade stuff that I've been doing at fairs for the last couple of years. I had to get like a legit booth. Okay. So I did that show. This is 2016, spring of 2016. And I went with my little teeny calendar and I thought, okay, I think I could do a week, one collage per week. If anybody asks me to do like 3 or 4 collages, I feel like this is all a success. And I walked out of there booking from February all the way to December. So it was like every single week I put down someone's name and their collage. And I was like, whoa, these are strangers. And they just said yes. For me to go back and say, I promised you a product at the end of this. And yeah, you can see I've done it in the past, but like, you don't know me. I'm a nobody and you don't know me. I left that 3-day dog show and I was driving home, which by the way, my mom and dad and my sister came to that show with me and they helped me do that crazy New York, everything. It was just madness. It was so crazy. And I'm driving home in my dad's car, and I looked down at my phone, and the bank statement, or like the bank processed all of those transactions through
Mm-hmm.
my Shopify. And
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden there's a deposit, and I'm like ugly crying, because
Yeah.
it's this moment of like, oh my gosh, I know where I've been for the last 4 years. I know what I still have left to go through
Yeah.
in my future. But here and right now, oh my gosh, like a success, a confidence, a pride, and not like
Mm-hmm.
a chip on my shoulder pride. It was like, God told you, like, hey, you survived for a reason. And I'm going to give you some glimpses of those reasons of joy. And I promise that I'm with you. Like, it was those kinds of things, is like, here's a gift, Heather. And this is something I have for you in your future. You get to be an artist like this. I was just on cloud nine. I mean, it was one of the, I still get teary when I think about it. It's still one of my favorite moments. I did the pet portraits at Westminster, and then I also did another really big dog show for 2 years. And then it was a quick change. And one of my pet portrait clients was, I think I painted like 4 of her pets, like her dogs, her kids' dogs, and now her son is getting married. And so she's like, hey, Heather, this is okay, 2018. And
Mm-hmm.
she's like, Heather, there's this thing, people are coming and they're painting weddings live. Would you paint my son's wedding? And I never thought that it wasn't a good match, because I'm used to teaching. I'm used
Mm-hmm.
to like being up in front of a class and saying, okay, kids, this is what we're going to do. And all eyes on me, and speaking to, big groups. And, um, but I did not know anything about it. So that was like the introduction of how I went from the pet portraits to then it leading to the live wedding painting.
Mm-hmm. Fellow entrepreneurs, listen up. Let's talk about protecting your business. We all know that having a solid contract is essential, but drafting them is daunting and can be very expensive. I'm an artist, I'm not a lawyer, for a reason. That's where the legal page comes in. The legal page offers attorney drafted contract templates tailored for creatives and small business owners like you and me. Whether you're a photographer, an artist, a business coach, a designer, or an event planner, or what have you, they've got you covered. These templates are easy to customize and come with very clear instructions that include free future updates. That's huge. I was honored to be asked to review their live event artist contract, and it checks all the boxes for me. Don't leave your business vulnerable. Invest in peace of mind with the Legal Pages contract templates. So, if you're ready to get your business legally legit, head to the show notes and click the link to save 10% off any product in the shop, or use my code StephanieG10. Again, get your business legally legit with a Legal Page contract today. That sounds like a familiar story. A lot of us were
Right.
asked to do it, and we were like, "Excuse me, ma'am,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?"
Right.
And had our own um, moment of, I don't know what this is or what to expect. But when you're a working artist, there's that element of like, oh, I mean, I've got these skills. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I could do something. So what did you do? You accepted the job, and then what?
I did accept the job, and I went and found other artists. You were one of them. And I was like, how are they doing this? And Stephanie, you've just been such a sweet and open book this whole time I've been doing this. I loved that when I would DM you, you would respond and you'd be like, cool, well, let me answer that for you. And so it was the community that actually accepted my DMs and then
Mm-hmm.
saying, oh, well, this is how I would handle that situation. So it was this very quick. I just jumped right in. And I did my first one. I've talked about this in the past to some other podcasts, so we'll kind of keep that one. I'll just do like the brief of that. But
Mm-hmm.
um, I hate that. Well, I I don't hate that painting. I look at that painting and I say I would do it so much differently. But when I look at that painting, I'm actually, that was a moment of beauty that is
Yeah.
to come. Like,
Yeah.
so, but I just didn't have all my tools for live painting at that point.
Well,
And
you
so,
can't really create the. I mean, the what we're at, the job, what we need to produce. isn't the same as what you can create in the studio. And you were
Yeah.
so used to like collage work like that, painting in 4 hours in a crowd out of your
Yeah.
studio. It's not necessarily the right place for like collage work or, well planned large format portraits, things like that. So you kind of have to get used to like get over the fact that it is a different product, like the style is different,
Yeah.
but there is something so organic about it that you cannot help but beam with pride. Like I did that. I did that in 4 hours and I was scared the whole time, like I
Uh,
get it.
right. So like even thinking of, okay, I am going to a different place that I've never been to
Mm-hmm.
before. And that internal checklist that I've told,
Mm-hmm.
does this seem safe and all that? Total strangers. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
anybody at this wedding besides the mom. That's all I knew. And I don't know where this city, I mean, I know where the city's at, but I don't know anybody in the city because it was like 2 hours away.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about loud music and how it reverbs through your chest. It bounces your canvas. Those things I did not I wasn't prepared for that part. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
ready for that part. So then it's like earbuds. Like, okay. And I know a lot of us should be listen, guys, if you're not wearing earbuds, you're gonna need some earbuds because you're gonna go deaf. But it was those kinds of tools that I know for the trauma stuff. I don't like loud sounds. I don't want to be like physically feeling a music in my body because that doesn't feel
Mm-hmm.
like control and safe and all that. So I had to find things that would let me be in this environment with total strangers and all that and be calm and
Yeah.
pleasant and be able to produce my art in those kinds of environments. So there was definitely a learning curve, but by that point, it was a different version of Heather. My gosh, like Heather 13 years ago from Heather today
Mm.
is night and day different. And there's like all these different checkpoint versions of myself. But I had to learn those little steps of what could be helping me in this environment because it is such a high stress. It is it's such adrenaline. And so there was a lot that I had to quickly say, how can I adapt
Mhm.
to this environment?
Yeah, that was one thing that I wanted to ask. What did you do? Like, what are a few things like the headphones, that
Yeah.
you used to adapt, your body and adapt you and your mind and your body to be able to do the job with all of the elements that are outside of your control, because it is not a comfortable environment. It's not a controlled environment.
No.
And and then people coming up and throwing off your creative process with like questions or comments, or and then the music and the lighting changing, and there's so many elements to the task that make it very challenging for
Yeah.
somebody who doesn't have that internal checklist of things to avoid. So what are some things that you utilized?
I think one of the and I still use this to the day is having a consultation call with a very detailed list of questions.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I don't want to do the planning when I get there because that actually
Mm.
triggers it's too much stress for me. So what I've done is I will scope out the venue virtually beforehand, before my call, and I will know, okay, here are some cool things I've seen taken photographs of in the past.
Mm.
And then I'll have that and I'll start doing some sketches. So when I'm on the call with my couple, I know what timeline, I know when things are happening. So that helps me. So I kind of know, is this a short and sweet wedding or is this going to be a long party and I just am going to be a portion of it?
Mm.
Um, I also know, are you doing a first look? Can I get you a styled photo then? Versus, the adrenaline that comes from getting a photo after ceremony, or like, they don't do a first look and then I'm like rushing to get that photo of them. I know that does something to my heart rate that is like, okay, if they're going to do a first look, it'd be really great if I could get some footage of them then. And so little things like that. So learning that stuff. Now I know there's some artists that will go and they'll let the rooms speak to them of like, oh, this space, I'm feeling this. Now there are times that I've gotten there and I'm just like, okay, I had this plan, but are you okay if I change this element of it? Because I did not expect that. But I have them send me their pictures, their inspirations, use as many words as they can to describe things. So in my mind, I feel like I do see the painting before I even get there.
Yeah.
And so I think that has been one of the biggest successors for me of like, be prepared, know what I'm going to do, know where I'm going to sit, where they're going to be at what time and all that. So having an actual timeline mapped out in my mind has been a huge part. Now, the FASTONEs, like the paint being something that I knew was correct each time. Like, because if I was making my paints on site the first year that I did it, and I was thinking I was picking up the correct colors, but with all the environment changes, I realized later, like, oh, I accidentally picked up a different color than I meant to, and my tint is incorrect. So then I realized even preparing my palette beforehand, like, so not just having my skin tones pre-mixed, but even having like my palette squeezed out, cleaned up and all ready. Cause I use like a stay wet palette that I keep all the paint in all the time rather than just squeezing it out on to a palette sheet each wedding. Anyway, so I realized the more I could prepare, even like a checklist. So it'd be like, I have an app in my phone that it's like everything that I need for the day. So an actual checklist. And I go through it every time and I'm like, well, yes, 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 yes. But that one time I didn't, I forgot like something big. So I usually just kind of like roll my eyes at that checklist of like, oh, I know I've got everything. But that checklist is something I do every single wedding. What's even funny is like, I even have it down to, there's just these things that I do. And maybe it's a bit of OCD. I'm not really sure. It probably is. But using 3 paper towels. I mean, it even comes down to like 1, 2, 3. And then I fold it a certain way and I have it right next to my palette. Like even that kind of order and repetition, 4 paper towels would be fine. And I could make it work with 2 and it's fine. But for some reason, that is what I do every single time. So it's these little things that have muscle memory, repetition, just take away those stressors. So honestly, when I work a wedding, when I leave, I feel like that's just another day rather than like, oh, that's the worst part of the week. And it was so stressful. It doesn't feel that way anymore. Like like they just come and they go. And it's just like ebb and flow. Like I'm just used to this now, but it's because I've come up with these little things. Oh, double equipment. I literally have everything twice. It all sits in the garage and I don't take those things up to the studio. It's like this stays here so that when I roll it into the truck and I put it in there, all my equipment is in one spot. So there's not this hustling around like, did I get that? Did I get this? Another thing would be I bring my own meal because if I feel hungry and I have to wait, then it's like hangry. I'm like, give me something to eat. So hydration and having food when I need it. So those 2 things are also really important for just keeping my body balanced. So all the levels just as balanced as I can.
And that's great advice for other artists. So if you're listening, be prepared, like extra prepared, have that confirmation call and get even just like descriptive words, ask the clients what they're most excited about, come up with a plan that works for you, being consistent, being over prepared, having 2 of everything. Having 2 of everything is helpful in terms of working with the same materials in the studio for touch-ups or commissions versus having your go bag ready, because then it eliminates the forgetfulness or, oh, I forgot to grab that tube of white paint. Have done that before, So that's excellent advice. That concludes the part 1 of this episode with Heather Wolfe. Please join us next week for part 2. Thank you for tuning in and joining us on this journey of artistic exploration, entrepreneurial growth, and personal development. Remember, you have the power to create a life that is both fulfilled and balanced. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe to The Composed Artist on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And don't forget to leave us a review. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more creatives like you. Until next time, keep creating, keep dreaming, and keep pursuing that composed life. You got this.